Okay, so this is the practice quiz number 1. So the first thing we want to do is find the next term. Well, in order to find the next term, what we have to do is we got to take the second term, whatever the second term is, and subtract it from that. So I'm waiting for my calculator to load. And so in your calculator, what you're going to do, you're going to put the second number minus the first number. And then you're going to press enter. So once again, you put the second number minus the first number. And so I got a positive 4. Okay, but look, I don't need to stop there. I need to do the third number minus the second number and see if I got the same thing. So we do 14 minus 10. Okay, and I got a positive 4. Okay, so that tells me there that I have a pattern of 4. It's going up because I put a plus 4, meaning it's going up by 4. So now all I do is I take this term, 14, because that's my previous term, plus 4. And I'm going to put that in my calculator and see what I get. So 14 plus 4, we should get 18. Okay, so that means this term is 18. Okay, so now we need to find our recursive formula. So our recursive formula says A1. We always got to write our A1 term. This one here tells us that means it's our first term. So we come back over here and we look at our first term. This is the first one we see. So A1 is going to equal 6. Okay, so next we need to do our formula. It says AN, that means A to no matter what number equals AN minus 1 plus your D. Okay, so the only thing we got to plug in for is this right here, the plus D. So we're going to go ahead and write the rest of this. AN equals AN minus 1. And then our D. Our D basically tells us, is it going up or is it going down? So if we look here, this right here tells us each time it's going up by a positive 4. So all we have to write is AN equals AN minus 1 and then our plus 4. So that's the only thing we plugged in for. Everything else stays the same. Okay, for explicit, we're going to use our formula y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's break down what these letters mean. The M is the same as the D up here. MD, like medical doctor, MD. No matter which, if you say MD, medical doctor. Okay, so M is how you go up or if you go down. So we look here, we know we were going up by 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 4 there. My X is going to stay the same. Okay, and I didn't do my B. My B is before the first term. So if we look here, I know the A1 is my first term, but I want the before term. I want the term before that. Okay? So guys, that means I don't want this first term. I want this term over here. Okay? I want to figure out what this term is. So to figure out that, we take our first term, which is 6, and since we're going to the left, instead of doing plus, we're going to do the opposite. So we do minus 4. And we get a positive 2. So that means before there was 6, there was 2. Okay? So that's my formula for explicit. The M is how do I go up or down? So I went up by 4. The X just come down. And then our B term is before the first term. What do we have? Before term. Okay? So now, this part right here, it says A to the 12th. And mine is written kind of wrong. It says A to the 12th. So what it's telling me is that I got to put in that number 12 for X. So I'm going to rewrite my formula. 4X plus 2. And then all I'm going to do is plug in this 12 for X. So we got 4 parentheses 12 plus 2. And then all I'm going to do is plug this into my calculator. So I get my handy dandy calculator. And I do 4 parentheses 12 plus 2. And I get 50. So if I want to know the 12th term, this is what I do. And I get 50. I could have put any number in. Okay? So I want to try another one just to give you an idea of how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, go back and watch the video again. So hopefully this helps. Okay, this is the one we had from my practice quiz. Okay? So first thing we're going to do is find this term. So to do that, we take the second term, subtract it from this term. So we do the second term, which is 7, minus the first term, 2. And we get a plus 5. But we got to keep going. We got to make sure we get it twice, okay? So now we take this term and subtract it from that term. So the third term minus the second term. So it's basically like this term minus the one in front of it. So we got 12 minus 7. Okay? So we got a plus 5. Okay? So we know that's what's going on. And you look here, our numbers are getting bigger. So that's why I put a plus 5. Okay, so now to find the next term, we take the last term we have, 12, and we're going to add that same number we've been adding, plus 5. And that's going to give us this next term. So we just put in our calculator. I'll let you see what I'm doing. 12 plus 5, and we should get 17. Okay, so that's 17. Okay, so now we got to do our recursive formula again. So it says A1. We got to find our A1. That's our first term. Okay? So we come back over here. A1 equals our first term. Here's our first term of 2. Now we got our formula. AN equals A parentheses. AN minus 1 plus D. And remember, all we're going to plug in this time is this one. So, AN equals AN minus 1. And our D is how are we going up or down? Once again, plus 5. Okay? So now for the explicit formula, we got to basically use Y equals MX plus B. So we're going to plug in for our M and our B. So remember, our M is the same as our D over here. MD. So that's going to be 5. That basically tells me how many times do I go up by. So we go up by 5. X is going to stay. And B. Remember, B stands for our before term. So before there was 2, I got to figure out what this term is in front of it. So what we do this time, we take our first term, subtract it from what our difference was. I did it too much. So it should have been 2 minus 5. And this time we get negative 3. So let's just say we want to find the 5th term. That's easy enough. So let's use our formula. 5x minus 3. And so what we're going to do, we're going to plug in for 5. X. We're going to plug in 5. And I'm going to plug this into my calculator. So I'm going to clear all this out. We're going to have 5 parentheses, 5 parentheses minus 3. And that gives us 22. So just think about this. If I wanted to figure it out and I did it the normal way, I would take 17 plus 5. And then we can double check to make sure we're right. Look, 17 plus 5, and we get 22. So this is a quicker way because you don't want to have to do this every time. It would take forever. So that's how we do it. Okay? So let's go back to the quiz. Let's look at number 2. And for sake of time, I don't know if I'm going to do all of the practice question that I had. So I think I'm just going to do hers. You're just going to have to watch it over and over if you have questions. Okay? So the first thing we do, we take the second term, subtract it from the first term. Okay? So let's look at it. So let's see. We're going to clear this out. So I'm going to clear. And I'll do 12 minus 4. Okay? So this right here tells me I'm going up by 8. Now, I need to make sure this is what it's doing. So I take the next term, which is the 36 here. So 36 minus 12. I got a plus 4. So immediately, plus 24. So if it is different, that means it has to be either multiplying or dividing. So I'm going to erase this and we're going to start over. But I want you to try and see if it's going up by adding by the same number. If not, you got to try something else. So this time what we're going to try is that we're going to actually divide. So we're still going to take our second term. We're still going to take our second term, which was 12. And this time we're going to divide by 4. Okay, so this one right here, it says that means we're basically going to multiply by 3. Let's try this one. So the next one we're going to do this term, 36 divided by 12. So 36 divided by 12. And let's see if we get 3. Voila, we got 3. So that means we are multiplying by 3. Okay, so now to figure out this term here, all we got to do is take 36 and multiply it times 3. So pick up your calculators. 36 times 3 is 108. Okay? So now we got to write our recursive formula. So recursive formula is going to still look the same as normal. You're going to have your A1, which is your first term. So we can look here. Our first term is it's going to be 4. Sorry. So A1 is our first term. This is our first term, 4. Okay? This time, we're going to use our formula. It looks very similar to the other one, but it says AN equals AN minus 1. This time, we're going to do times D. Because when we multiply, that's what times means. So we're going to multiply times our D. So the only thing we got to figure out, plug in, is this. So we're going to write everything the same. So we got AN equals AN minus 1. And then times our D. What did we times it by? By 3. And there we go. So that's our first part of that. Now we need to come over here and do our explicit term. So our explicit basically says A n equals, this right here is going to basically be your first term. So I'm just going to basically write it. This is going to be your first term. I'm not going to write the typical formula, but your first term. This is basically going to be your D. And then n minus 1. So it's your A1 term, which is how they normally write it. A1 term, which is your first term. So we're going to come here and we're going to plug in for our first term. Our first term, we know, is 4. Okay? Our D, if we come back over here, this is our D. Remember, this was our D. So we're going to put in 3. That goes there. Then we have n minus 1. And that's all we have to do for our equation. So basically, on this one, always on the explicit, you're filling in for 2. On the recursive, you just plugging in for the D. So we had to figure out the first term, which we already had because we had it up here. Then we had to figure out our D, which we already had up here. So easy, just got to write the formula. Your first term, which is 4, your D, then n minus 1. Okay, so now we got to find the fifth term. So if we come here, basically we're writing our formula, 4 parentheses 3. Anytime we have our n, that's where we're going to plug in. 5 minus 1. So let me show you how we put that in our calculators. So I want to show you so you can see it. So let me clear this out. We have 4 parentheses 3. And then this time we're going to do the caret key, that key over here. And I'm going to do parentheses. 5 minus 1. Or if you want to go ahead and subtract that and put that in there, that's fine. Press enter. And we should get 324. So basically I just showed you how to put that in. Okay? So I am going to try the second one on mine. Just because I want to show you again how to do it. Okay? So we come here, we take this number and subtract it from that one. So we basically are looking at 20 minus 5. Okay? We got 15. Okay? Let's see if we're going to get 15 here. You should automatically be able to look at it and know 20 plus 15 is not going to give you 80. But if you can't, that's fine. That's what the calculator's for. We come here and we do 80, the third term minus the second term. And then we get 60. So automatically we know it can't be adding. So we got to be multiplying. So this time we're going to divide. So 20, the second term, divided by the first term. And we get 5. We get 4. And so this time, let's see if we're going to multiply by 4 again. So let's take our third term, which is 80, divided by our second term. And let's see if we get 4. Yes, we get 4 here. So that means each time we're multiplying by 4. So all we do now is take our 80, the term that we're times 4, to get our next term. So we do 80 times 4. And if I'm going too fast, you can always pause it and rewind it. We get 320. Okay? So we're going to come here with our recursive. We're going to first find A1, which everybody should know is the first term. So look over here. Our first term is 5. So we write A1 equals 5. Okay, now we got our formula. AN equals A n minus 1. And this time we know it has to be times because we were timing. So it doesn't matter. I put a little dot for times D. So D is how we're going to go up or down. So you see your numbers getting bigger. So we know we're going up. So we write AN equals A n minus 1 times, you know we're going up by 4. So that's times 4. So that's our D. Okay? Now for your explicit formula, we got AN equals A1, which I'm going to write over, that means first term, times your D, and then your N minus 1. So the only ones you're going to plug in for is the A1 and the D. So we already have this information from the recursive. A1 was 5. Okay? Your D, we already had that. That was 4. So the explicit is kind of easy once you get the recursive, and then it's N minus 1. Okay, so let's say we got to find A to the 15th. And this probably is going to get, let's do A to the 10th. So we want to find the 10th term. So we're going to take our formula, 5 parentheses 4, and we're going to plug in for the N. So N now is going to be 10, because that's what I got to find. And we're going to plug this in our calculators to get our 10th term. So let me clear this out. We got 5 parentheses 4 parentheses. And remember, this is the caret key. Puts it up here. Parentheses 10 minus 1. Close your parentheses. Enter. And we get, wait a minute, my calculator went away. 1, 3, why is it going away? 1, 3, 1, 0, 7, 2, 0. So basically we got the answer 1,310,720. Okay? So that was our answer. I knew it would be a big number, but that's how we do it. Okay, so we've done number 1 and number 2. So now we need to look at number 3. Okay, so this is the practice test that you all were given. So with this one, we want to see what is going on. So we start here and we want to see what exactly is going on. So we're just basically looking for the common difference. What is it doing? Is it going up or is it going down? What is it doing? So if you look here, you can see our numbers are getting smaller. So you always got to do the second number minus the first. You always do it that way. So we do 23, that's our second number, minus our first number. And we got minus 3. Okay? So now we're going to take the third term and we're going to make sure we're going to get the same difference. So we're going to do 20 minus 23. So 20 minus 23. And let's see if we get that negative 3. Yes. Let's try the next one. So we're going to take the fourth term minus the third term. So it's now 17 minus 20. Yes, we get negative 3. Perfect. That's what we needed. Okay? So if we come over here, we got to write our recursive formula. So we got to first find our A1, which is our first term. What did we start with? And you see here, we started with 26. That was our first term. So A1 equals 26. Everybody see how we got that? We have to look at our Y's. That's what we're looking at. These terms here. This was my first term, second, third, fourth. Okay, now the rest of our formula says AN equals AN minus 1 plus D. And this time we know it's plus D because we had to either add or subtract. So we use plus D. So we're just going to fill in for our D part. So everything else stays the same. So AN equals AN minus 1. And this time, instead of putting a plus D, I'm going to actually put this. I know it was a minus 3. Okay? Now, we need to use our explicit formula, which basically we use Y equals MX plus B to basically answer that one. So for y equals mx plus b, we need our m and we need our b. So it's always two terms right now for explicit. So our m is basically the same as our d. So remember, this right here is my d. So I can automatically do that. If not, you come up here. M is how it's going, either up or how it's going down. So we know ours is going down each time because our numbers are getting smaller. So we put -3. And then our x is going to just stay. But this time, we need to know what our b is. Our b is our before term. Before it was 26, what was it? So this time, we know this going this way, it had to get bigger. Because it's getting smaller going this way. So to get bigger, I have to take my 26 and then add 3. So 26 this time plus 3. Because I know it has to get bigger. So that means my before term. So before there was 1 that had to be 0. So this is my 0 term and my before term. So it's going to be plus 29. Because I knew going that way, if I'm going up, my numbers have to get bigger. Okay? So that one's a little different, but it works the same way. Okay? So the next one over here, I'm starting here with my first term. Well, this actually is my 0 term here because they actually gave me my 0 term. But I need to figure out what is going on. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to take my second term and minus it from my first term. So we always start with that one if you just can't tell automatically. So we do 48, my second term, minus my first term. And let's see, I got -12. Let's see if we're going to get a -12 the second time. So we do this term minus that term. So third term minus second term. So 38.4 minus 48. And we get 9.6. So I automatically know we're not adding or subtracting. So that means I gotta be multiplying. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my second term and I'm going to divide it. So my second term is 48 and I'm going to divide it by my first term. So I got 0.8. So when I did this, when I divided it, I got 0.8. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this one to this one. My third term divided by my second term. So now I come over here and do 38.4 divided by 48. And hopefully I'm going to get 0.8. 0.8. So I see here each time I am multiplying by 8. And I put that in the wrong place. So I'm multiplying by 8. By 0.8. So that is what I'm multiplying by. Because my numbers are getting smaller. But I know I'm multiplying by 0.8. Okay. So recursive says A1. That's my first term. So let's find our first term. So on this one, we need to make sure we're looking at the one that says first term. Because up here, they started with 1. So that's how we got 26. But this one, they started with the 0 and gave me 60. But I need the first term. So my first term is actually 48. So don't get tricked by that. Just make sure you look at it. Okay? Now I have my formula. AN equals AN minus 1. And this time, since we're multiplying, we're going to have to use the time D. And the only thing we're going to plug in is for that one. So we got A to the N equals AN minus 1. And our D, how were we doing? We were multiplying by 8. So that's basically what we were doing. Okay, explicit formula. So for our explicit form, we use AN equals your A1 term, which is your first term, times your D, and then you do your N minus 1. And so with this one, we had all our information already given, because all we had to do was use it from here. So we got our first term, A1, so that was 48. We got our D term. Our D term was this one here, right? So we put 8, N minus 1. Now, I need to make sure. I don't think you have to you don't have to simplify that. So that's basically what we're looking at. Okay? So now, okay, this one says Jenny is trying to save money and opens a saving account with $300. The account earns her 6% every year. Create a table with labels. And you got to do the recursive and the explicit formulas to model the situation. So if I do a table, what we're going to do the years. Because we want to know, basically, right now, we know how it says every year. So we're going to start with 0 year. And we can go down. Normally we do like 4 numbers over here. So we're going to do 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then over here we're going to do the balance. Or if you want to put money or whatever, it does not matter. Something simple. You can put money. Ching ching. So we want to know how much money she's going to have. Okay. So Jenny is trying to save money. She opens a saving account with $300. So this is not even a year. So she automatically has $300, right? Okay. And it says her account earns her 6% interest every year. So we know that means percent. We got to change this to a decimal. So 6%, what you do to change it to a decimal, you drop the percent. Your decimal place is at this end. You have to move it 2 places. 1, 2. So here's my new decimal. But remember, if it's something here, you got to put a little goose egg. So our decimal is 0.06. That's what 6% is. So what we have to do, we have to multiply. So we got to take our 0 term and multiply it times 0.06 to get our next one. So we look over here and we do 300. Let me clear all these. We do 300 times 0.06. And we get, she's going to get $18. So she'll get $18 here. But we have to take our previous and plug it in. Okay? So now we get $318. Okay? So we got to keep going with that pattern. So each time she's going to get that times 6%. So we take our calculators. And this time we're going to do 318. That's our previous term. And we're going to multiply it times that 0.06. Okay? So this year, she's going to get $19.08. So we're going to add that to our previous amount of 318. So we put that in our calculators. 318 plus 1908. And we get 337.08. 337.08. Okay, so now we're going to take this one and multiply it times 0.6. So, and I'm just going to press this because it means answer. So that was my answer, times 0.06. And we got a difference of $20.22. So this is whatever it's going to be, what was it again? $20.22. So it's going to be plus that $337.08. So we add those together. So we add $337.08. And we should get a total of $357.30. And guys, my calculator said a little bit more than that, but we are talking about money. So we're only going 2 decimal places. So like if you see this answer, let me go back. So you see this 357.3048. Well, we know we only go 2 places after the decimal. So that says 30. But we always got to double check. If this number is 5 or higher that comes behind, it's going to bump it up 1. But because it's 4, it's going to stay that. So $357.30. Okay? So what we got to do now is write our A1 term, which is our first term. So our first term, if we look here, it was 318. Okay? So A1 should be 318. Okay? That's my first term. Because I look here, this was the total of 318. Now we got AN equals AN minus 1. And this time we know we were multiplying, so we know it's times D. Okay? We already know that. So we got AN, because remember the only thing we're going to plug in for is the D term, AN minus 1. And that's an A. N minus 1 times 0.06. And that's times. Okay? Now for your explicit formula, we're going to use the A1 times your D. And then your N minus 1. So your A1 term, we already had, it was 318. I'm sorry. Let's not use this formula. Let's use the, sorry. Well, I will have to fix this one. I made an error on this. I'll go back. Let's do number 6. Let's start off with the charts. And then I'll help y'all do this part. Okay? So, this one here says Justin borrowed $500. So, we know he borrowed $540 from his parents to purchase a new phone with accessory. Justin agreed to make a $60 payment each month. Create a table. So, this one's going to be the number of payments. The number of payments, and I'm shorting this, and this is the amount of money owed, because that's the things we're looking. So how much money does he owe after he makes a payment? Okay, so we're going to start with 0, because that's easy. So 0, that means he hasn't made the first payment. So how much do he owe? Well, he borrowed $540. Okay, so if he make a payment, we know that this is going to go down. We know that. So the first payment, we know we're going to take this here and subtract what he said he's going to make. So we got 540 minus 60. Because we know that's what he said he's going to do. So guess what he has now? 480. After one payment, that's what he has left. Okay? So remember I said we do like 4 numbers here. So let's do the second one. Okay? So this is second month. So he has 480. And remember what was his payment he has to make? $60. So we come here. So 480 minus 60. Okay? We get 420. So you see each time we're going down by 60. That's what we're doing. Down by 60. Okay? And let's do it for the third month. Just because we want at least 4 numbers here. So we have 420. And remember, we're going to take 60 away from it. So we got 420 minus 60. And we get 360. So after 3 months of making a $60 payment, he owes $360. Okay? So this right here, we're going to first find our first term. So remember, first term means the first term. So that should be 480. Okay? Then we're going to come here and use our formula. AN equals AN minus 1 plus your D. Okay? And this one's plus because I knew we either added or subtracted. So that's why I used the plus one. So we keep everything the same except for your D. AN equals AN minus 1. And this one is whatever we're going up or down by. So we were going down by negative 60. Okay, so that's our formula for recursive. For explicit, we're going to use Y equals MX plus B. So remember, we're only going to plug in for our M and our B. Our M is what we're going up or down by. So this is my MD. So I know we were going down. So I automatically knew that. So we got negative 60. And then I'm just going to bring my X down. My B is my before term or my 0 term. It's before the first term. So it's before the first term or the 0 term. So I do have a 0. So it was 540. It was a positive 540. So that's my equation for that. So I can put Y equals or whatever. So that's my formula. So remember, the B term before the first term or the 0 term. Okay? So that's basically what we're looking at.